This is Rip Impact from Hamilton Pro Wrestling, and you're watching Saved by the Buzzer with Dan and Bill.
Welcome, everyone, to a bonus episode of Saved by the Buzzer. I won't go into AKAs this week. Bill and I quickly chatted just before going live here. I think we're going to jump right into it, Bill, with what are you drinking? Because living here in Ontario and hearing the news now, another dark day in the WWE where they're releasing a whole bunch of talented wrestlers. I don't know. I just feel down. We're going into version 8.3 of this lockdown, shutdown, stay-at-home order, whatever's going on in Ontario. I think let's go right into it, Bill. What are you drinking?
I feel that, Dan. Honestly, this is a gloomy day. I didn't want to wash a cup, so I'm putting in a plastic cup. That's how you know where my mood's at. But I'm drinking Ouzo today.
That's a good one. I'm going Glenfiddich. There's actually a sticker on the bottle. It was given to me as a gift to be a groomsman for a wedding. So I don't know if it's a 12-year or an 18-year. Really, I don't care because I am just up here right now. You could see my face is red with the news, imminent news in Ontario with more restrictions. But the WWE, a lot of crap has happened over the last day with more releases. This kind of stuff bothers me a lot. But anyway, buddy, cheers. Let's dive into some wrestling.
I feel like I've aged 12 to 18 years, like how you're talking about the Glenfiddich, buddy, going through this pandemic.
Well, I'm not even done there. I normally I go light on these nights, but I'm also chasing it with another Guinness. Thank you, John, for that. Bill, I think the whole format of today has changed dramatically with how we're gonna go into it. We're going to talk about WrestleMania results. Obviously, you're the champion now. We thought that there was another tie. We only tied on night one. No, we tied on night two. You beat me on night one. There's a championship belt sitting right perfectly positioned on that Raptors portrait with the East is Ours t-shirt. Love your setup, buddy. So Bill won the results of WrestleMania. We posted those on social media. You can check it out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at By the Buzzer Pod. Again, that's at By the Buzzer Pod all over the place. But going into today, we were just going to talk about what happened at WrestleMania. We still will talk about, for the most part, WrestleMania, but I think a lot of our blood is boiling and a lot of Ontarians' blood is boiling because of all these new restrictions and everything that's going on. But like I said, we took that shot. Let's table it aside and talk wrestling. I think we'll go into some breaking news where the WWE 2 years in a row on April the 15th. That's today, 4/15. I guess Zack Ryder actually posted this on Twitter, 4/15. Vince McMahon saying 4/15. I just fired your ass. It's become some sort of tradition now. Last year we understood because of COVID, the lack of the restrictions with fans and everything, they weren't able to I guess maybe find time slots for a lot of these wrestlers or even just to save money. But this comes 3 days after WrestleMania. I'll read the list. Billy Kay, Chelsea Green, Tucker Knight, Kalisto, Mickey James, Wesley Blake, Samoa Joe, and think I'm missing somebody. So Billy Kay, both the Iconics. Peyton Royce has also been let go from the WWE. I got to over that because Vince McMahon and the creative team broke up the Iconics, one of the most exciting tag teams in the WWE on the female side, and they gave them crumbs to kind of just reevaluate themselves as singles competitors. Both Billy Kay and Peyton Royce took those crumbs, got over with the fans, and Vince McMahon still said that's not enough and let them go today. So I'm really ticked off with that. I'm ticked off with Samoa Joe. Bill, I know you're going to dive in to the new commentator on Raw, but I thought Samoa Joe, I know he's had a lot of injuries lately and concussions and whatnot. So I think maybe that's why he was let go, but I'm pretty sure he was cleared to compete. So it was pretty sad to see him go. I don't know. I know, with COVID and everything going on, to save money and whatnot, you still do not let go of a talent like Samoa Joe. He is going to All Elite. There's no doubt about it. The Iconics are going to, hit up that way too. Kalisto is a very talented guy. There's so many talented names that were let go today, and it's the WWE's loss. So I don't know, Bill, if you wanted to touch on that or dive right into WrestleMania.
I get that you're upset that WWE did this to, such talent, but like you just said, they're going to go to All Elite. So I'm very interested to see how it's going to pan out when, All Elite let's go some of their people, because that's bound to happen. So I'm interested to see who's going to swap, companies and where that's going to take us. And you know what? These guys are talented, so I'm not worried for them. They're going to hitch another job. Tucker even went on Twitter and he said freedom.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show you that, maybe he wasn't being treated well. Otis and Tucker, they're a good tag team. I don't know why they broke them up, but they put Shorty Gable with him now. But yeah, it's just gonna be good to see. I'd rather them go to All Elite where they can get some more respect rather than be in the WWE and be unhappy. So I think it's gonna pan out. But Dan, I just wanted to remind you, I want you to show the viewers your t-shirt.
Oh yeah, we got t-shirt time. This one's another one that my wife made. It's Macho Man Randy Savage, says Macho on the glasses, and then Savage underneath. And there's the NWO logo as well on the arm sleeve. So thank you very much to my wife. We'll put some of the links in the description of the podcast. Bill, what are you wearing today?
I just got a comfy hoodie on. What I have for you guys is a nice, championship belt in the back and the East championship from when the Toronto Blue Jays won it in 2015, the AL East. That's what I got for my setup today. I didn't want to waste a shirt because I'm scared I'm going to run out and I'm going to have to purchase some more. So I'm taking it easy there.
No, it's a good idea, buddy. I like the shirt that you wore on last Friday's episode, your solo show. Guys, check out that solo episode of Saved by the Buzzer with Bill. He's talking about SmackDown, his boy Edge. We'll be talking about that momentarily. And, of course, the Blue Jays. But, dude, I can't believe it. I thought we had a tie after our predictions. I was super excited. 2 months in a row, back-to-back ties. And then I recalculated everything just like a GPS back in the day, recalculating your route. You ended up taking night 1. Night 2, I tied. But, a win's a win. You won by 1 point. Congratulations, champ. You're the prediction war champion. And I guess we could get into those what happened with the predictions results. We won't dwell too much on every single match. I'll read off some of the results, and I know some talking points are going to be Bad Bunny because, man, that guy impressed. He impressed me too. One of the most. I know I'm nice on screen and everything, but a lot of the time I'm very cynical. I know I'm just eating chips and watching wrestling on the couch. And saying I could do that better than those guys. But once I saw Bad Bunny in the ring, out of the ring, on top rope, delivering all those moves, man, and Miz and Morrison, they made him look like a champ. But let's go into what we predicted. Night 1, we had, sorry, buddy, just pulling it up here. Night 1. Shane McMahon, both of us said Shane McMahon would take the steel cage match. Braun Strowman ended up winning that one. Cesaro, we split on that with Seth Rollins. AJ Styles is now a Grand Slam champion. We both picked Omos and AJ Styles winning the tag team titles. We both went with Bad Bunny and Bad Bunny and Damian Priest taking that tag team match. We were completely wrong with the women's tag team turmoil, which I didn't really enjoy. Lashley and McIntyre, we split on that decision. You won that one, and you also won the main event. Bianca Belair taking on Sasha Banks and winning her first championship. Bill, what do you want to start with? What match?
Well, when you said Bad Bunny, man, it instantly made me smile because I feel like we should start with that because that was the highlight of the show for me at least. And like you said, I mean Morrison and Miz, they give credit to Morrison and Miz because they made Bad Bunny look like he's been wrestling for like 10 years. Like it was a really good match. I thought Bad Bunny showed what he's been working on, showed what he's been trained on. And I thought it was very technical in terms of like every move he was hitting. You know, sure, there was some hiccups, but you got to remember, this was Bad Bunny's first real match, right? In the WWE. And then I remember I was texting you the next day and I was like, is Bad Bunny going to be on Raw or is he going to continue, you know, being in the WWE? And you said that his contract's until WrestleMania only. Yeah. And I was like, are you kidding me? Get this guy a contract right now. Like, I'll sign off on that. Like, if he wants to do it, like, I don't know. He was unreal.
Well, I know that Triple H said that they do want him back. I think Bad Bunny right now, he's focusing on his tour because, you know, you saw night 2 and even on the Raw after WrestleMania, they had that promo of Triple H handing him a briefcase, I think with a microphone, and then they announced the tour dates. So I think one of the nights, I think it's April 2022, they're coming to Toronto as well. But he's got to focus on that tour. Once that tour is over, I imagine they'll have him back in there. He's definitely won the respect from a lot of hardcore wrestling fans, casual wrestling fans, and even wrestlers themselves. I know on social media, on Twitter, like Randy Orton was giving him such praise, saying he is a WWE superstar. And the list goes on and on. I know AEW stars were really just not just shocked, but like excited for that match. And it's not, I know he trained, like you mentioned in your episode last Friday, Bill, that he was training down in Florida. We found out recently that Drew Gulak, and I'm not sure who the other superstar was, but those two guys, there's two superstars that were exclusively training Bad Bunny at the Performance Center. So I got to give a shout out and a cheers to Drew Gulak, good friends of the pod and good friends of myself. And Spry Wrestling. He's definitely a great talent to have on your roster. He helped Bad Bunny, and I know John Morrison can deliver a Canadian destroyer or a bunny destroyer completely on his own. But man, it just when he did that, I was like, this guy is. I hope they put him in WWE 2K22, the video game, because I'm gonna pick Bad Bunny every single time. He was delivering high flying moves that you don't normally see on television done often, like the Canadian Destroyer. They did the double finisher, but then both guys kicked out, Miz and Morrison. Man, it was good. It was from start to finish. I know you said in the beginning maybe it started a little slow, but from start to finish, like it was. To me, it was one of the best matches of the entire 2 nights of WrestleMania.
Yeah, it was just shocking to see, you know, the execution that these guys put into it. I'm sure they worked on what they were gonna do like constantly. And shout out to Drew Gulak. I mean, if he was training with Drew Gulak, man, like Drew Gulak deserves a lot of praise for that. And yeah. I'm sure the listeners don't know too much about how you had Spry and what was going on there, but Drew Gulak did fight for Dan's company, Spry, and I think that's a very like important thing that we should note. Like I hope we can get Drew on the show. That'd be unreal.
I know I've reached out to Drew for an interview or even just to open the pod. We got to go through, you know, the legal tape with the WWE to get them to do anything outside of the WWE. But yeah, like you said, he wrestled Rip Impact on our very first show, and he's inside and out of the ring. He's a great friend and a gem. So it's pretty cool to see that and they kept it a surprise or a secret until after WrestleMania, because I didn't know that that's what they were doing. But yeah, it's a great pairing to put him with Drew Gulak to train down in Florida. And now the only thing is, now Raw after WrestleMania, I kind of thought, even though his contract was done at WrestleMania, that maybe there would be some sort of backstage segment, because Bill, you like those backstage segments with Bad Bunny, but unfortunately he's focusing on his own thing now, which is, he was around for a couple months, right, from the Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, so about 4 months. Do you want to switch into another match, or you want to still kind of talk about the Bad Bunny?
I was just gonna say, I think like it'd be nice to see Bad Bunny continue, but then again, like let's end on a good note, and let's end it on, he had a great match at WrestleMania, and if that's his contract, then that's his contract. Let's just take it for what it is, and let's move on.
Yeah, you ended on a high note, and then who knows when it's going to happen next. If his tour is done in the summer of 2022, then he starts coming back, maybe for the Royal Rumble sort of thing in 2023. That would be cool to see. We start off the night with a rain delay, and Samoa Joe and all the guys are wearing those rain jackets, or because of the rain delay. I think that killed the mood. They're scrambling to get interviews and just promos and do whatever they could to keep the fans entertained, either there or at home. And then you go into Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley. Now, the issue that I had with that match, it was a good powerhouse type match. Are you falling asleep there, Bill?
Well, I mean, you mentioned Lashley and Drew McIntyre, and I'm sorry, but that was too slow for me. It was way too slow.
Guys, if you're listening to this pod, flip over to YouTube when you have a chance. You can see our visuals, and you can see Bill falling asleep as I talk about Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley. Honestly, man, like, if the rain had not delayed the start of WrestleMania 45 minutes, and they started with that match, I'm all for that match to start WrestleMania, because it's the title match, and you're not ending the night with that because of Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. But to me, after the rain delay, I would have started with Seth Rollins and Cesaro. That match was a top-notch match that a lot of people may have not really known could be done for between the two guys. I've known them for a long time through the independent scene, and they've wrestled countless times, and they have put on amazing slobber knockers, as JR would say. So I was really pumped for that match. But to start with the two super heavyweights, I don't know, it was slow paced. You had the rain delay, and so by 9 o'clock, 1 hour into night one of WrestleMania, you kind of were, this is how we're starting WrestleMania, rain delay and Drew McIntyre. I think, I don't know, with the rain delay, I kind of would have switched up the matchups a little bit, but it is what it is. I don't know if you want to jump into the main event of WrestleMania, or you want to touch on anything else in between.
I was just disappointed in both starts to both nights. They started off with Drew McIntyre and Lashley, and like you said, like you want something that's flying at you, like a Cesaro and Rollins, right? Like you don't want something like the two heavyweights going at it in the first round, like, or in the first match. That's like having, Stipe Miocic and Ganu going at it when they're the main event, right? Like it's two heavyweight guys going at it, and it just, I don't know, it didn't give the rest of the pay-per-view, like a nice flow to it. So it was disappointing to see how they structured it in that regard. And I know, the rain delay, it's tough to foresee that. I mean, weather changes on a dime, so I get it in terms of how they started out cold, but if they did make, a little switch up in the beginning and had Rollins and Cesaro, I mean, I think that would have kickstarted the show.
I think the whole mentality is if you're not last, you're first. With the WWE, so their big marquee title match they had to put out first. But I think that we talked about this that night. When you looked at when the women main evented WrestleMania 2 years ago, we had Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, and Charlotte Flair. You opened up with a title match. You opened up with Brock Lesnar and Rollins. Now, they're not both super heavyweights. One is, the other one is exciting and fast paced in the ring. The match was so fast paced that it kept you interested. They had a really good long build up with leading into that match at WrestleMania. And it was basically, can Seth Rollins take down this beast? The only way he can is with speed, agility, constantly, altering what he's going to do next. That I stayed interested for. This was just, I'm gonna hit you hard. I'm gonna hit you hard. I'm gonna flip you hard. I don't know. To me, I know I'm a diehard wrestling fan. I know my stuff. I was not intrigued. The rain delay, then that it pissed me off to start the night. And then I started to get really more into it once Cesaro and Rollins jumped in there, I think at match number 3. Then by the time we had Bad Bunny and Damian Priest, it started to really get you pumped and ready for the main event. I'll skip over the cage match. I mean, there was only one cool spot where Shane is waving, sticking his hand through the cage as he's about to exit. Braun grabs him and then rips him. I hadn't seen that before, where they rip the cage and bring the opponent back in through the cage. That one was okay. I didn't like how it finished. No, actually, sorry, I did like how it finished. The super, like that big flip that Shane McMahon did. But then there was nothing more after that. Jumping into, and if it's okay with you, into Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. I know there's videos circulating with her on the outside after she's lost, and she's got like that scowl look on her face because she's in character. She's the heel in the match. And then when she thinks that the cameras are off of her, she's just grinning ear to ear. She was super excited, as was a lot of people, that Bianca Belair won the championship at night 1 of WrestleMania. What I was disappointed with, I'm not sure if you feel the same way, but Sasha Banks is now 0-6. That's 0 and 6 at WrestleMania. She's never won at WrestleMania, which kind of, I don't know, like that's why I picked her. I love Bianca Belair and I thought she would win, but I picked Sasha Banks because I think she deserves at least one WrestleMania moment, one WrestleMania win before you call it a career.
I think it's funny, when people look into statistics like that for wrestling, because this is all predetermined, obviously, and it goes, there's a storyline that they're following, the writers of the show and things like that. It's not, like a hockey game where the two teams are competitive fighting against each other. So the 0-6 to me isn't that big of a deal. I don't think that means anything. And I'm happy for Bianca Belair. She's my girl. She won the Royal Rumble. I picked her to win. I picked her to win the championship as well. I need to get me some merch. I got to get me some of that EST merch. Next time you guys see me, hopefully I'll have some. I got to order some. I mean, like, I'm so impressed with how that match went. I know it wasn't perfect, but those two ladies can put on a show. Like, yeah. The way they come out, the way they like they carry themselves are very technical. I really enjoyed that match. I thought it was a great match to end night 1, and I want to see Bianca Belair hold on to that title, and hopefully she holds on to it for a record.
Yeah, it was definitely good to see, and you're right, it is predetermined. So maybe at the end of the day, Sasha said, I don't care about my record. I want to see I want to pass the torch down to Bianca Belair, and you could see when she was outside of the ring, she was just ecstatic for her friend that just won the championship. So night one overall, I think I'd probably rate it around 7.5 out of 10. How about you, Bill?
Yeah, I think we were talking about it. It was around a 7 to 7.5 or so. But before we get into talking about night two, night one was probably what I liked more. I thought it was a little bit more fast paced, and we'll get into night two. But 7 to 7.5 for WrestleMania, it's kind of not to my expectations. I thought it'd be obviously higher, but I think what threw them off was, that rain delay. And that can get into people's heads, that can get into these athletes' heads because they're not starting on time. Maybe their routine was out of whack. It just goes, it takes an emotional toll on you. And you just got to give credit where credit is due. They did what they could. It was not bad. What I expected more, but for what the circumstances held, I thought it was decent.
Well, and we saw Vince McMahon start the night. I think they knew with the rain delay and the whatever tornado watch or thunderstorm watch, they had all the wrestlers up front. Vince McMahon adopted Roman Reigns. He's part of the McMahon family now. They were all spread out up front, and Vince thanked the fans. It's been 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day since they'd had seen fans in the arenas cheering them on and booing them on. So he thanks the fans, he thanks the wrestlers for being relentless and delivering at their highest of their ability. I'm a little bitter here because 3 days later or 4 days later, he says bye-bye to some of them. But it was good on Samoa Joe. He's been a great commentator when he can't be in the ring. The guy is a gem on the mic. I know he's going to find work elsewhere, like you said, Bill. And then Billie Kay, she was on the show as well, night one in the tag team turmoil. They didn't win, but she was on there. It's good to note that she was on night one of WrestleMania. If you're okay, I'm gonna dive into night two. All right, so we got night two of WrestleMania. We have the Nigerian drum fight. I picked Apollo Crews to go over Big E. You picked Big E. I was right in that regard. We both picked Rhea Ripley to win against Asuka. So Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair finalists for the Royal Rumble. They both win their respective matches. We both picked Kevin Owens to go over Sami Zayn. Logan Paul, for some reason, was ringside. He didn't do much, but now they have merchandise with his name on it. We both split the decision with Matt Riddle and Sheamus. The ending of that was cool. I picked Sheamus, so I got over on that match. The tag team title match, the turmoil decided who was going to challenge for the women's tag team titles. It was Natalya and Tamina. I picked them. You picked Nia Jax to retain with Shayna Baszler, and you were right in that regard. The Fiend and Randy Orton opened the show. We both split on that. I picked the Fiend. You picked Orton. And the main event, we had the triple threat because Daniel Bryan is included in everything. He might actually triple threat our podcast soon with Edge, Daniel Bryan, and both of them challenging Roman Reigns, the tribal chief. And we were both wrong. The tribal chief retained that title, that match. And I can now safely say that he is my tribal chief and he is the head of the table. So Bill, this another night of action. Where do you want to start off with night two?
We should have known that Roman Reigns was gonna win when he showed up on stage on night one, right next to Vince. So
that's right. Yeah,
that was a miscalculation on both our parts because we both picked Edge. I think a little bit of favoritism got in our brain. We probably we probably went with our heart rather than seeing Roman Reigns front and center. You kind of knew he was going to retain it, but we still wanted to go with the Canadian boy. But I think we should start it where night two started off with the Fiend and Randy Orton. Just again to note their kind of slow starts. And I was talking with you about this. Like every time I watch the Fiend fight, or he hasn't been on for a while, but every time I would watch him fight, like it doesn't really seem like a match to me. It seems like a short-lived type of match where they do a few moves, and then the Fiend dominates. So I was really surprised to see Randy Orton win that one. I guess obviously he won by Alexa Bliss distracting the Fiend. I didn't really think he was gonna win, but I just thought like that'd look cool on my resume just to throw it in your face that Randy Orton beat the Fiend, because I thought the
Yeah.
Fiend would win 99.9%, like how we are chatting about. But yeah, like the Fiend's matches, I just feel like his character could be so much better. Like his character is great. I love what they're doing. I love what they've done. I love his, the Firefly Funhouse. I think that's something unique. You would have never seen that 5 or 10 years ago. But it's lacking. Like it can be so much better. And I feel like you can attest to this because me and you always like throw out ideas at each other, and we're always like, oh, we could be writers for the WWE and things like that. It's just it seems like it's lacking. Like it's there, but it needs to be next level. And I don't know if it has to do with how he wrestles in the ring, how they want to perceive him as, a dominant figure, a dominant character. Like, I understand that completely, but when you got the Fiend in there, facing Randy Orton and all these other big name guys, and he's like throwing 2 or 3 moves out there and he's asserting his dominance, like, is that really developing a storyline? I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know what you have to say about that, but I just feel like the Fiend's character is good. It could be amazing, but they still haven't shown that to me.
I think in the beginning it was a lot better than it is now. It's gotten a lot more watered down. And when he lost to Goldberg, that kind of just killed the Fiend character for a lot of people. Then Randy Orton set him on fire, and it became interesting again. They took him off TV for a little bit, bringing him back for the Fastlane and now WrestleMania. And then I don't know, like all of a sudden the entrance was cool, with the Jack in the Box sort of thing. And then a couple moves later, the distraction, and then it's done in 8 minutes. And I'm like, what's going on? Is creative like trying to kill this character? I feel like maybe they're developing Alexa Bliss a little bit more, and she's now the Fiend sort of thing, and he's kind of by the wayside. He's the Mr. Rogers knockoff now. It was interesting to see or to note that a lot of fans said that the Fiend that wrestled Randy Orton, he didn't look like the Fiend. His tattoos were different. I don't know. I didn't look too much into it. His body type was different, and a lot of people saw Bo Dallas, who's the Fiend's brother. I know we didn't mention him at the beginning of the podcast, but he was also one of the unfortunate to be cut today. Fans were saying that he was seen leaving the arena in his streetwear, and I don't know, they put 2 and 2 together or whatever. The assumption was that he actually wrestled as the Fiend. Then with the Alexa Bliss a distraction, they were thinking that it might be like a Fiend versus Bray Wyatt type match at SummerSlam, which, okay, fine. You lose at SummerSlam or at WrestleMania. You build this Fiend versus Bray Wyatt all the way to SummerSlam. I would have been all for it. Whatever. He lost at WrestleMania. I was mad in that moment. Then they do this. If they did that storyline going into SummerSlam, I would have loved that. But now with Bo Dallas being released, we're like, what is going on? And then Alexa Bliss on Raw, kind of just saying she's done with the Fiend. The Fiend is kind of done with himself because it was just the Firefly Funhouse, which in the beginning I did enjoy. I don't know, maybe it's getting watered down, or we're just too cynical. I don't know. I feel like I would have been a lot more happier if the match went a couple more minutes. Really had the Fiend showed a little bit more dominance, and then he just falls to the RKO like one move. I remember back when he was first introduced, and there was a Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins was beating him senseless with 18,000 curb stomp finishers, and the Fiend would constantly get up. Rollins couldn't even get a cover. He couldn't even get a pinfall on the Fiend, and the Fiend would just pop up. And then the referee stopped the match. The referee stopped the damn Hell in the Cell match. It's a no disqualification match. It's false count anywhere. Anything can happen. How do you stop that? That's how dominant the Fiend was back in the day. And back in the day, I'm sounding old. Like, the Fiend has not been around that long. That in that amount of time, I feel like they've crushed the Fiend. I don't even know where I was going with it, but I'm just mad. I'm mad with the whole Fiend thing and letting go of Bo Dallas. Guys, it's not a good day for me. I don't know. We want to move on to another match, buddy?
I know where you're coming from. I feel like our anger is stemming from Raw the next night, which was terrible. And I think we both wanted to talk about that. And it just all ties into it. And I get where your frustration is. And I feel like that's where you were heading to. But let's try to stay on course and talk about night 2 a little bit more before we get into, how terrible Raw was and what the expectations were for, a night after WrestleMania and how it was a letdown. But for night 2, is there any match you want to talk about per se?
I thought the Nigerian drum fight was a little interesting. We were both like, what is this kind of match? I enjoyed it. I always enjoy watching Big E and Apollo Crews. I know they've wrestled countless times already on SmackDown. But again, they put on another good match, and these are biggish guys. I know Big E is big, and then Apollo Crews, he's built, but he's also big. They put together a really good match. You were mad with the interference by, I forget his name, but it's a giant, tall, really big guy. He caused the interference. Apollo Crews is now a 3-time United States champion. The finish with Riddle and Sheamus, I really did enjoy. I know Sheamus was really upset with himself because he slipped. He had Riddle. He was going to jump off the top rope and he slipped. He was really upset with himself, but then they nailed a banger of a finish that was amazing. Riddle cut his lip cut, but I really enjoyed that finish. I don't know, Bill, you want to touch on either of those matches, or?
Well, Big E and Apollo, I mean, like you said, like those guys are two, like, bigger, more built guys. But man, those guys are nimble, and those guys put on a show. I like their storyline. But like you said, like that, I don't feel like that match deserved somebody interfering. Let's see how the storyline goes. Let's see how they're rolling with that. But I was impressed to see, they're using some weapons in there. I always like to see that. And just going back to the Braun and Shane match, I always told you, we were talking about this before, and I was like, if they have a cage match, end it where the guy goes over the cage. Don't end it in a pinfall. Don't end it in a submission. We saw Daniel Bryan and Jey Uso. They're in a cage match, and it ended in Daniel Bryan submitting Jey Uso. Like, their cage is there for a reason, guys. You could just climb over it and let's make it a bit more interesting. But, just sticking with that Apollo and Big E match, it was good to see some weapons flying out there and how they handled it. It was pretty good to see. I want to see how their storyline continues, with that disqualification and that interference coming in.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say that guy. I'm sorry, I don't know his name, but I think Apollo's character is going to be like a Nigerian dictator or something along those lines. He's got his right-hand man who's just, even 3 times the size of Apollo Crews. So for me, I'm in, not just because I got the prediction right. I liked it, but I'm invested in that. I like that they're giving somebody else a chance to be on TV, and I'm digging this new heel Apollo Crews. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, and just going to the Riddle Sheamus match. I love what they're doing with Riddle. They gave him the US champ, but now they took it away and gave it to Sheamus. But Sheamus, I don't know. Sheamus always impresses me in the ring, and like you said, when when they messed up that move on the top ropes, you could really tell, like, that really just, took a toll on him. You could tell in the match he was frustrated with himself, but they took it upon themselves to end strong, like you said. And it just goes to show you like what kind of character these guys have. Like they want to perform for the fans, and not only for the fans, but they want to make sure that they have a good match for themselves, right?
Yeah.
So that was really impressive to me, and I love Riddle's character. But to me, again, like it just seems kind of wishy-washy. Now you got Riddle facing Lashley on the following Raw, and then he gets manhandled by Lashley. I get it. Lashley's a big guy, but we've seen Rey Mysterio beat Brock Lesnar, have we not?
Yeah, we have. So,
So, it doesn't matter about the size if you're trying to, like show that persona. Um, I don't understand why Riddle's getting manhandled. I get it. If it was a more competitive match, it would have been a little bit, easier on my eyes to see because I know what Riddle's capable of. And I just feel like the WWE just does a lot of like back and forth, wishy-washy type of stuff where they don't stick to the course.
yeah.
And they don't stick to, like a straightforward storyline. It's always like, oh, a guy is the champion, and then the guy gets dominated by a bigger guy. Like, let's keep it consistent here, guys. Honestly, like I'm tired of seeing that. Like Riddle, a former US champ, and he's getting manhandled by Lashley. Give me a break, man. Riddle can hold his own just no problem if this was a real, real life thing rather than being predetermined.
Well, what I was gonna say, I know you were upset. You're like, why Sheamus? Like, he doesn't need it. He's already an established guy. What I would have done was fine. Sheamus wins the title. The very next night on Raw, you have a rematch, and Riddle wins back the championship on Raw. Like, instead, you get Riddle manhandled. He's a former US champion now by Bobby Lashley. Why? Bobby Lashley already is a dominant force. We've already seen it for weeks since he's won the championship. 2 nights before Raw, he dominated, or he didn't dominate, but he beat Drew McIntyre. Why do you need to show him dominate this Matt Riddle? Put Matt Riddle, let him retain his championship. Now he's a 2-time champion. You build him as the US champion, and you build that title up through Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle right now, he's not a main eventer. He's a mid-carder. Sheamus is that in between. If you really wanted to manhandle somebody, maybe after the match, Bobby Lashley comes down and manhandles both. Why do you have to put it in a match? I didn't understand that. And that's what upset me. But I'm just throwing your comment in there because at WrestleMania, you said, why Sheamus? Sheamus doesn't need it. He's already an established star. I agree with you. I like that I was right because Riddle won, but I agree with you. The very next night, he should have won it back. And then that build, Raw after WrestleMania is always exciting. Something always happens. I'm still ticked off because this was the worst Raw after WrestleMania in many years. So, buddy, I know we're just all over the place. We're upset. Do we want to go into? I think let's talk about Rhea Ripley. Congratulations to Rhea Ripley for winning her first championship. Another dominant performance, or another dominant woman winning a championship. I'm definitely happy. They didn't really do much with Asuka leading up to WrestleMania anyway. She was kind of always left off the posters and off the cards. So hopefully they do a little bit more with Rhea Ripley. So congratulations to her. I don't know how much we can really dive into that match. I just wanted to say, give props and cheers to Rhea Ripley. But I think maybe we dive into the main event, the triple threat with our boy Edge.
Agreed. Yep, we can dive into that. But what I want to say about Rhea Ripley, just really quick, in night one, you could tell on the stage when all the wrestlers showed up, you could see she was very emotional. I feel you could see like she had tears in her eyes. And I feel like that was in character, obviously, because Rhea Ripley as a tough character. That just goes to show you how much fans mean to this sport. And we were talking about it during WrestleMania, and we kept asking ourselves, like, are the wrestlers, do you feel like the wrestlers do they feel comfortable having fans back in the stands. And I said to you, I was like, I'm pretty confident that they feel, you know, grateful that they get to perform in front of their fans, right? I don't feel like they were scared because it was an outside setting. So it was a little bit better and probably put their mind more at ease. And you could tell these guys put on a show for their fans. Like they were so happy. You could tell everyone was genuinely happy to see fans, literally faces in the stands. So
Yep.
that's the human element of it. And yeah, I just want to touch on Rhea Ripley. Congratulations on winning the championship there. And it's going to be great to see what comes out of Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, as when they started their NXT tenures, and now they're their main eventers. So
Yeah, I think everybody was happy. Randy Orton, motioned to the crowd and then said, "I love you all." Um, to me, I'm not competing. I can't get in that mindset, but everybody was wearing their mask really low. So like that kind of stuff just bothered me. Just thinking the safety of the fans, but like you said, it is outdoors. Everybody, all the fans, I mean, all the wrestlers there, the talent they wanted to see, and they were very thankful with tears in their eyes, just like, welcoming the fans. Finally, we get to perform for each and every one of you guys. I'm going to go off a little bit on a tangent. Right after night 2 of WrestleMania, and Bill, you still have to watch it. Chris Jericho was interviewed by Stone Cold Steve Austin on the Broken Skull sessions. And this was the best interview I'd ever seen. I know the Undertaker interview with Steve Austin is up there. But this one, it was almost as long as WrestleMania itself, almost as long as our podcast, because we talk forever. These guys were just like taking shots, drinking the beer, talking about WWE, AEW. He dropped so many names. Sammy Guevara, like Jericho dropped tons of names. But he had an interesting thing to say. He's like, now we're performing at Daily Place, which is outdoors, and they're allowed to have fans. They're allowed to have fans outdoors. So Jericho said, I guess based on maybe case numbers or some sort of restrictions, some nights they have 300 fans. Sometimes they have 1,400 fans. It doesn't matter how many fans are there. They're just there. He said there's 100 fans in the crowd cheering your name or singing your song or whatever. They are excited to see it. So, kudos to them. The WWE talent got to see finally fans back in their venue. 25 or 30,000 capacity. They sold out whatever the capacity they were allowed to have at the show. They sold out. So, but then on Thunderdome night, on Monday Night Raw, it was back to the Thunderdome. So it's going to be interesting to see how long they go now without having fans once again. You want to go into the triple threat tribal chief main event? All right, so we had picked our boy Edge. Both of us were very disappointed, but we kind of get it. We kind of see why this is happening, why Roman Reigns won. He's standing up there with Vince McMahon. He's Roman Reigns hyphen McMahon. At this point, I read an interesting article online and I agree with it. I can't give you credit for it because honestly, I don't remember where I saw it. But at this point, it's looking like Roman Reigns will likely hold the championship belt until WrestleMania 38. And that is insane to think about, but I believe it. I think if you're beating especially Edge and Daniel Bryan in the main event, nobody's going to beat you. Did you cut out there?
I think yeah, we had a little bit of technical difficulties there. Yeah,
glitch,
but we're here back. But the last thing you said was Reigns is going to hold the championship until next year. That's what you're hearing. That's
Yeah.
the last thing I heard.
Yeah, so I'll just repeat that. I mean, it's insane to think that Reigns will hold the championship until potentially hold the championship until WrestleMania 38. You look at the roster right now, that's the way it's looking. And the predicted main event of WrestleMania 38 is The Rock challenging Roman Reigns for the head of the table, the head of the tribal chief. And most likely, if that happens, I still see Roman Reigns winning that match. But we're not here to dwell on that. You could jump in if you want. Those are just rumors. What did you think? What do you think of that rumor? If you want to dive into it, or what did you think of the main event, the triple threat match?
I don't see that happening, that rumor happening. I keep hearing The Rock's running for president and he has other things on the agenda. So, but I mean, I could be wrong because you see Kane being the governor of Knoxville County, I think it is.
Yeah.
And then and then you see him being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Congrats to Kane as well. Like that was good to see. But yeah, just diving back into the triple threat match. Um, I thought it was a great match to end night two. These guys are top-notch professionals. The fact that Roman Reigns and we talk about this constantly, Dan. Like I always bounce back who's my favorite, who's my current favorite. And I think you know this. Like I always talk about how Roman Reigns is one of my guys. But I know like in the past you have a knack for telling me, who's good on the mic. And I always ask you, is this guy good on the mic? Is this guy good on the mic? Because you watch a little bit more than me. I'm starting to get back into it. But Paul Heyman is with Roman Reigns for that reason of
Yeah.
Heyman handles the mic, but Roman Reigns has been getting better.
Yeah.
But this guy pinned both Daniel Bryan and Edge, like to show that he's the alpha. Like that was a really good ending. But then it got me thinking, and I'm thinking, did Edge kind of win first because he was on top of Bryan? I mean, is that a little bit of a moral victory there? Like
that's actually what some people are saying. Edge is technically the champion because he pinned Daniel Bryan. And then the referee came out, somebody tweeted, and then the ref of the night of the match, he said it's his judgment is what will, or his call. It's all his call. So if he's calling Roman Reigns the winner, Roman Reigns is the winner, and the rest of us that kind of see that technicality have to just sit in the corner and cry because our boy did not win. I don't know, man. It was definitely a WrestleMania main event. It's one of those like just beat down, like incredible outside the ring action, inside the ring action. Normally, I don't like triple threats, but these guys just overall, it was great storytelling. Roman Reigns said it on SmackDown that he's gonna put both men on top of each other and he's gonna pin them. I don't know if he caught SmackDown, but he said what he was gonna do. And being with Paul Heyman, it's not a prediction, it's a spoiler because Paul Heyman always said that. So he basically gave us a spoiler and did exactly what he was going to do. He's still the champion, he's still the tribal chief. In the moment, I didn't like it because I wanted Edge to win. I think I would have hated it more if Daniel Bryan won, but I get it now. I'm happy. I'm settled with the decision that Roman Reigns won. It's the best decision for the company. Now you can have Edge and Daniel Bryan one-on-one to give us a dream match, and then Edge can move on to some other dream matches. A little bit of a little information here or statistics. Edge is the only person, and I sent you this, to win 2 Royal Rumbles and lose both of his main event matches at WrestleMania. So that's insane. Also, 10 years to the day, WrestleMania on night 2 when he main evented, 10 years to the day from when Edge announced that he has to retire because of his neck injury. So that's kind of insane. And then, of course, when he wins the Royal Rumble, it's 11 years to the day since he won his first Royal Rumble. That's all. That is just, it doesn't happen. Like how does all of that come into play? It just, magical sometimes. I know it's predicted, or it's these matches are predetermined, but it's just that kind of stuff is just stuff that is out of the hands of the talent, out of the hands of creative, and it just happens. And when that happens, it's magical, and we just got to enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dan. To touch on that, on the records thing, like how you're talking about how Edge won the Royal Rumbles, but then he lost the championship match at WrestleMania. I remember AEW when they first were showing their shows on TV, they were showing their records, and I was like, I don't know if WWE was doing that before or if they've ever done it, but AEW was showing the records like 2-0, 0-2, and I thought that was just I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like you get to see like their win percentage, but then I'm like, this isn't MMA. Like this is all
Yeah,
predetermined. So
yeah,
it's funny to see that. And it's funny that all these guys, they look up the statistics, and I'm sure fans are just always like trying to be the first guy on Twitter, trying to be the first guy on Instagram to say, you know what, Edge lost both his Royal Rumbles, or Edge won both his Royal Rumbles, but he, lost his main event match for the championship at WrestleMania. Like I'm sure guys are like chomping at the bit to be the
yeah,
first guy to do that. And I could see maybe the WWE goes back into history and checks like, oh, Edge has lost or whatever. They could and they couldn't, right? Like
yeah,
it just what I'm trying to say here is like you said, it could be just out of the blue, just amazing storyline. Somebody brought this statistic up and it just happened, or the WWE looks back into history and is like, oh, we're gonna make this
yeah,
match with that, right? Like
yeah.
you don't
Just do
really
it. Yeah,
know.
yeah. And I'm sure in that match they had Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, and Edge. They all consulted with creative to kind of work through what the best case or what the best result would be for the company itself. They're moving forward. It's no longer, I don't think it's considered the pandemic era anymore in the WWE. It's the Thunderdome era now. So they're kind of moving forward. They're constantly moving forward. And Edge and Daniel Bryan, they're both incredible veterans, incredible talent, and they're putting the company, they're putting Roman Reigns ahead of themselves, and making that decision. And not one guy made this decision. It was a group of individuals that put forward, this is how the outcome is going to be of the match, and they all agreed to it. So I don't know. I enjoyed the match. I enjoyed WrestleMania as a whole. 2 nights of WrestleMania. I think I would prefer 2 nights of WrestleMania. One night when you have like 12, 10, 12, 13 matches is just too much. 2 nights of seven matches each is a lot better and easier to watch, easier to handle. Night two, I think I would probably give it a little bit higher than night one. I would probably score it an 8 or 7.5. I know you don't like that, but I really liked the Apollo Crews match. I liked Sami Zayn. I liked Rhea Ripley winning. I really liked that finish of Sheamus, and the main event just like set it over the top. It just felt more like a big time WrestleMania. Night one, I think I said it to you. It just feels like night one, like part one, right? In part one, it leads into, or night one, it leads into the finish. It leads into night two. So I don't know. Overall, I was just a little bit more excited, and I enjoyed night two better than night one.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to look forward to WrestleMania Backlash. So that's coming up soon. And I know you're shaking your head because I'm
Stupid name. That's a stupid name. Just call it Backlash. Like, I don't know what these guys are doing, why they're throwing in WrestleMania again. Like, why? What's the point? There's no point to throw in the WrestleMania name again. Don't water it down. WrestleMania is WrestleMania. I know it's WrestleMania Backlash, but take out WrestleMania, just call it Backlash. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. A bitter fan right
No,
now.
I completely agree, and it's good to have some some bitterness to us. We can't always be jolly and happy, we got to actually share our honest opinions because we're talking about it constantly how Raw was terrible, and you're talking about how WrestleMania is 2 nights. I actually don't like the 2 nights. If you really think about it, man, like these guys are on their feet for 3 nights in a row, 3 days in a row.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that's a
true.
lot. That's a lot of preparation, man. These guys are
Yeah.
just, it takes a toll on somebody emotionally, somebody physically. So I would prefer just keeping it the same throughout their whole tenure. They had it to one night. I think they did it 2 nights for 2 years now, is if I'm not
Yeah, and
mistaken.
I think they did 2 nights this year because last year was 2 nights, so they just kind of, and the whole, the gate and the attendance, they weren't allowed. They're only allowed 33 or 35% capacity. So it made sense that they would split into 2 days, just to kind of, up that attendance and the gate cost and record and revenue. Um, we don't have that much time. I know we only set aside half an hour, man, but we're going on over an hour now. Raw after WrestleMania, big thumbs down, terrible. I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but basically, this is the whole. This is what I'm going to be talking about if we can continue talking. 2 thumbs down. Raw after WrestleMania is, and a lot of people are saying that there's a lot of bitter fans out there. Raw after WrestleMania is Raw after WrestleMania. Historically speaking, it is a big deal. Brock Lesnar debuted on the Raw after WrestleMania at WrestleMania X8 in Toronto. So WrestleMania X8, Brock versus Hogan, headline WrestleMania. The very next night in Montreal, Brock Lesnar was there. Every single Raw after WrestleMania, there's a big there are big either matches, championships change hands, or debuts or re-debuts. What happened at Raw after WrestleMania? Can you tell me, Bill?
I was telling you when we were texting about WrestleMania, I thought Lashley and Brock Lesnar, that was going to be, the next storyline, the next setup. I thought Brock Lesnar was going to make an appearance on Raw, and
Yeah.
all we got is a big bag of nothing. Like we didn't get Becky Lynch, we didn't get Brock Lesnar. Nobody came back. I guess Charlotte Flair came back and asserted some of her dominance on Asuka and Rhea Ripley, but
Yeah.
she wasn't gone for too long. Like,
And the War Raiders came back and they were injured. Like you said, you just gave two marquee names. Okay, maybe they weren't ready to come back, but we wanted Becky Lynch and we thought Becky Lynch. You thought Brock Lesnar. I wanted Brock Lesnar. I didn't think Brock Lesnar, but I wanted Brock Lesnar. That would have made those two names, or even one of those names, would have made the night. And to me, it was not Raw after WrestleMania. It was hashtag just another Raw. And that's all I have to say about that.
agreed.
You're looking at the winner. That's all I got to say about that.
We're gonna cut it off here, but honestly, they got to do better than that. It was such a bad ending to a pretty good WrestleMania. Let's just hope that it gets better. Me and you could do a better job of being on the creative team, but we're not there right now. We're trying to up our status here.
Yeah.
And we thank you guys, the fans, for watching us and listening to us and subscribing to us, guys. Continue to do that. We really appreciate it. And Dan, I'm going to send it to you for the closing here.
Yeah, guys, I know we started this podcast or this episode off being bitter. We are ending it being a little bit bitter. I mean, you can tell just by what we talked about. WrestleMania was a great show. Night 1 and night 2, we had fun. Then you're just crapping all over it with Raw after WrestleMania, making it a big deal when it wasn't. Tonight or today, April 15th, Ontario is talking about more measures to protect the public and whatnot. We're just getting really tired of it all. And then also today, there's a lot of wrestlers that were released. So we still wanted to get together and put this episode together because it's been a while since we got together, the two of us. In a nutshell, we enjoyed WrestleMania. We did not enjoy Raw after WrestleMania. We do not enjoy these constant lockdowns. I know they're doing what they can based on the data that they have to keep people safe. And I know we're trying to not really talk about political things on this podcast, but, in a way, it has a toll on everybody. guys, all I can say is I know it's frustrating, but stay safe out there, and thank you again for supporting us. Please check us out all over the place: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at By the Buzzer Pod. If you are interested in reaching out to us for any sort of sponsorship, you can email us at it's a Gmail account, saved by the buzzer at gmail.com. And I know next week we'll kind of dive into let's just do it now quickly. I need to give a huge shout out to Kickin' Wings Ghost Kitchen. That's Kickin' Wings Ghost Kitchen in Barrie, Ontario. So if you're in the Simcoe or Barrie area, check them out. They gave me a huge spread of vegetarian, like what are they called? Cauliflower bites, French fries, onion rings, pickle spears, mac and cheese bites. It was incredible. Kickin' Wings Ghost Kitchen in Barrie, Ontario. Those guys are a gem. Well, we're giving the thumbs up or the whatever, like, but 10 out of 10. Definitely recommend them. Check them out. They also gave us some dessert to try. They are incredible. And also, I gotta give a huge shout out to, see, Bill, we're not always negative and bitter. We're kind of ending off on a positive note. Support local businesses. Beaver Rock Coffee. These guys are incredible. I saw that they posted online that they were selling Macarons by Laura Maria. And as you guys know, that she has been a sponsor of ours over the last few episodes. So they're selling some Macarons by Laura Maria. And I went over nonetheless on the first day of the stay-at-home order, but it was essential. I needed to get some coffee. So check out Beaver Rock Coffee in Barrie, and I believe in Stayner, Ontario. I might be wrong about that, but check them out on social media. Beaver Rock Coffee, incredible coffee. The flavors are amazing. I love flavor coffee, and they always deliver with their different roasts and their different flavors. And last is Creative Bean. They're also in the Simcoe Barrie area, Barrie, Ontario. Check out creative.bean. I believe it's on Instagram. They have tons of stuff, tons of food. They just brought in their ice cream like freezer now, so they're selling Kawartha's ice cream, and they just brought out a hot table, I believe, for the Trinidadian food. Bill, you've ordered from them a couple times for the rotis in the past, and doubles, I believe. So this hot table, this hot plate table, you can just walk in. You can pick up your food and take it to go. Amazing Trinidadian food, and there's also other food and other selections at Creative Bean. So check out Creative Bean in Barrie, Ontario, Beaver Rock Coffee, and our first one was Kickin' Wings Ghost Kitchen. It's a mouthful, but guys, support your local businesses. I know we had a huge jam-packed episode of WrestleMania. We started off bitter. We talked about wrestling. We continued to be bitter. We went into WrestleMania, Raw after WrestleMania, talked about Ontario lockdowns. I don't know. It's just this roller coaster, up and down, bitter and happy news, and just talk. And now we're ending it right by talking about local businesses. Check them out: Creative Bean, Beaver Rock Coffee, Macarons by Laura Maria, and thank you, Kickin' Wings Ghost Kitchen. That's the one that always tricks me because it's a mouthful. Kickin' Wings Ghost Kitchen, Creative Bean, Macarons by Laura Maria, and which one am I missing now? Beaver Rock Coffee. Thank you, buddy. Beaver Rock Coffee. Check them out, guys. He's Bill. I'm Dan. We're two really upset wrestling fans, but we hope and appreciate you guys check this out and drop us a 5-star review. That's all I got to say about that. Bill, I'll see you guys next time.
Later.